and thank you all for joining us. It is a dark day in Arizona. Just now, the Arizona Supreme Court issued its opinion in Planned Parenthood v. Mays, upholding one of the most extreme abortion bans in the country. And while it is currently stayed, we continue to live under an unacceptable ban, a law that still strips Arizonans of their personal autonomy and has no exceptions for women who are the victims of rape or incest or any regard for pregnancy complications. Let me be clear. Arizona's 2022 abortion ban is extreme and hurts women. And the near total Civil War era ban that continues to hang over our heads only serves to create more chaos for women and doctors in our state. As governor, I promised I would do everything in my power to protect our reproductive freedoms. Here's what I've done so far and how we can continue to work together to end this never-ending assault on our basic rights. First, my executive order removing the ability of county attorneys to prosecute women and doctors for performing abortions remains. I refuse to allow extremist county prosecutors to use this abortion ban to lock up women and doctors seeking or providing needed health care. Second, my administration has expanded access to over-the-counter contraceptives. Today, Arizonans across the state can walk into their pharmacy to obtain birth control medication without a doctor's prescription. Third, last year I vetoed legislation that would have threatened access to IVF and potentially endangered access to any and all abortions in our state. And any other legislation that threatens to take away our rights will continue to be met with my veto stamp. Fourth, I am calling on the legislature to do the right thing right now and repeal this 1864 ban and protect access to reproductive health care. The Republican majority in the legislature has time and again refused to act to protect our freedoms. They have refused to repeal this extreme Civil War, near total abortion ban. In fact, the Senate President and House Speaker fought in this very case to keep this extreme ban in place, and as it stands, they might have their way. They have refused to act to protect IVF and contraception. Instead, they tell women to put aspirin between their knees. While I'm proud to be a backstop to their extremism, Arizona women should never have to fear the next court decision. It's why I'm proud to be standing here with Senator Burch and Representative Stahl-Hamilton and these other legislators who are dedicated to protecting our freedoms. We are 14 days away from this extreme ban coming back to life. It must be repealed immediately. And while I'm glad IVF and contraception are still available to Arizonans, we know they are under attack. Just last year, I vetoed a bill that would have threatened access to IVF. We must act proactively to protect these essential rights. Finally, this November, Arizonans may have an opportunity to make their voices heard on this important issue. To the people across Arizona who are concerned about the future of abortion rights in our state, who are worried about their bodily autonomy, who don't want to see the freedom of their wives, sisters, and daughters restricted, you can make your concerns known at the ballot box, and I encourage you to do so. Now I'm going to hand it over to Representative Stahl-Hamilton. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor Hobbs, for the work that you are doing and what you will continue to do to protect our rights and our freedoms. And thank you all for being here. This is a devastating day, but we are far from being defeated. How can we be defeated when the vast majority of Arizonans, 9 out of 10, support the right to get an abortion and want government out of our reproductive health care decisions? The Ducey Supreme Court chose chaos and immediate chaos, fear, legal jeopardy for tens of thousands of everyday Arizonans. and our medical professionals whose health care decisions within 14 days could be superseded by a law passed during the Civil War, decades before Arizona became a state and before women had the right to vote. Republicans will not stop here. Every Republican in the legislature supported this decision, not you. And this is evidenced by the Speaker of the House and Senate President submitting an amicus brief on their behalf, arguing for the Civil War era ban. This is not the end of our fight. Now is the time to continue our work together to repeal this ban, beginning with passing the Arizona Right to Contraception Act to ensure Arizonans hold on to their rights to make their own decisions about when to start a family with no government interference. Efforts ramping up around the country illustrate that contraception is next. I know that there is an initiative out there gathering signatures to codify abortion rights in our state, and I felt it would pass with overwhelming numbers. Now, I have no doubt. I am proud to stand with the governor and my legislative colleagues who have your back. This is the beginning of putting our anger to work. Find a friend, grab a neighbor or relative, sign the petition, collect signatures, and remind our government of the political will of our people. They don't get to have the final word. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm State Senator Eva Burch. A couple weeks ago, I had an abortion, a safe, legal abortion here in Arizona for a pregnancy that I very much wanted. A pregnancy that failed, like many of my pregnancies before it, an embryo that was dying, and a miscarriage that was destined to happen. Somebody took care of me. Somebody gave me a procedure so that I wouldn't have to experience another miscarriage, the pain, the mess, the discomfort. And now we're talking about whether or not we should put that doctor in jail. This is outrageous that we would even dignify the consideration of this type of ban. A ban drafted when women had no say, when Arizona was not a state. This isn't what the people of Arizona or the people of this country want. We're talking about a small number of really extreme political leaders calling the shots for everybody else. Republicans don't want this. Independents don't want this. Democrats don't want this. We have to look at who our elected leaders are. The time is now. It's done. I've had enough. The people of Arizona have had enough. We are electing pro-choice candidates in November. Watch it happen. That's all I have to say.
I'm not a legislator, but I'm here because I signed the governor's brief in this case, and I'm deeply saddened, by the court's decision. I participated in this brief because I caught a glimpse firsthand of what happens when abortion is inaccessible and you need one. We simply can't tolerate this in our state, Arizona, that we all love and call home. My husband and I were surprised to learn that we were pregnant just 3 weeks after our wedding, and shocked when we discovered that it was twins. We couldn't contain ourselves and immediately told everyone. We were even picking out names and looking at wallpaper for their nursery. They were so loved. For our anatomy scan, our friends placed bets on their genders, and we learned that our twins were a girl and a boy. We also learned that our boy, twin B, had a critical heart defect that was pumping blood into his lungs. Our joy turned into despair. They scheduled a follow-up, and we went home, nervous wrecks, but trying to remain positive. Our doctor explained that this was very serious, that I might not be able to carry this pregnancy to term, and that it was high risk for our healthy twin and also for me. She explained the process of a selective reduction, a specialized procedure that would stop the heart of twin B and allow me to continue to carry twin A to term. The doctor was working to arrange this for us, but the one facility she knew to provide it was not able to. This procedure was technically legal at the time, but reproductive health care is generally scarce in a state like Arizona, where a doctor's freedom to safely provide or even recommend abortion care is constantly under threat. Since that facility could not help us and the clock was ticking, our doctor let us know that she was calling physicians she knew all over the country and that we may need to travel to New York or DC. We were relieved when she finally let us know that she found a doctor in LA who could help us. And so in March of 2020, as the world was shutting down, I was 20 weeks along in my twin pregnancy, and we were able to get the care we needed in LA. The selective reduction procedure took place safely in an operating room in a hospital because it is health care. It was $9,000 up front and out of pocket. We went home where I carried our healthy baby and our dead baby for the remaining harrowing 4 months of my pregnancy before going into labor and delivering both of them. It was an otherwise safe, normal vaginal delivery. My experience was traumatic, but could have been so much worse had I not been able to access the care that I needed. I'm grateful every day that I was able to, but I should not have had to leave the state for that. Many Arizonans might not be able to say the same, and nobody should have to. Thank you.
Okay. We'll open things up for questions. If you can please raise your hands. I know we have a lot of people here. We'll get to everybody. Right there.
What does this mean for Plan B going forward?
Plan B, like the contraceptive?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Governor, you said that you are calling on the legislature to repeal this law in the next 14 days. What kind of pressure can you exert to leverage that to make that happen? Is it something you can do? Can you call a special session? Anything you can do?
We don't need to call a special session. The legislature's in session right now, and they can do this right now. They can do it today, and they should. They should listen to their constituents, 9 out of 10 Arizonans who support access to abortion, and do the right thing so that we are not living under the confusion and chaos and lack of access to health care that's needed. As you heard from those 2 stories, they can do it right now.
Right there, Mary Jo.
Governor, have you made that call to the legislative leaders, or do you intend to do that?
This is the call right here, and I have done that before.
Over there on the left, I can't see faces. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
It's Barbara.
Yeah, Governor, just your general reaction. You might be shocked perhaps that the more onerous bill prevailed. I mean, are you surprised that this is the one they chose?
I'm devastated by this decision, and I know that many Arizonans are as well, and trying to figure out what this means for not just the healthcare they need, but in the future. We know that IVF is under attack. We know that contraception is under attack.
Let me follow up with something. Do you fear for the climate, the general political climate in the coming weeks and months over this issue?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the?
Do you fear the political climate in the coming weeks and months over this issue?
I mean, we are in an incredibly divisive political climate. This certainly adds to that. I certainly think that this will motivate voters in November.
Right there with your hand up.
Eric.
Sorry.
It's Eric.
It's Eric from China. Hi. Governor, and anyone else who spoke, how vital now with this decision this morning, how vital is it to get the ballot measure in front of voters and then have voters show up and speak out?
The legislature has ignored the will of the voters on this issue for decades, certainly with the 2022 ban that was passed, and certainly with the leadership signing on to uphold the 1864 ban. And the ballot box is the way that voters can have their say and overrule the legislature on this issue that the vast majority of Arizonans support.
Others, right there.
You mentioned your executive order that's still in effect. Now that this ruling has come down, what's your confidence that will stand after the court challenges?
I say bring it on. I would not have issued the executive order if I didn't think it was legally sound. We want to make sure that women have access to the health care that they need, and that overzealous prosecutors aren't using this law to criminalize them.
Right there.
What impact do you believe this will have on the presidential election in Arizona?
As I said, I think this issue is going to motivate voters in November, and I'll leave it there. Mary Jo.
Are you, what's your stance on an appeal during this 2-week stay period?
I'm sure there's going to be an appeal. It's going back to the trial court, and I'm not a lawyer, and I don't want to say something that's not correct. And we just got the decision the same time you all did, so I have no more information than that.
In the back.
If the ballot initiative is successful, is that going to lead to legal issues between this and the ban, or is that going to override the ban outright?
The ballot measure is a constitutional amendment, and it would supersede this ban.
Right there.
Given that November's months away, and that GOP leaders are unlikely to repeal the ban, what kinds of resources are you looking to mobilize to help women access care out of state if they have to?
I am positive that the folks that are working to provide access to abortion will work to ensure that there are funds to help people get the care they need that they cannot get in Arizona.
Anything else? Right there.
Yeah, are there concerned about challenges to the law that have abortion prosecution authority to Chris Mays?
I think that was what we just touched on, and I'm not concerned about legal challenges.
Anybody else?
Eric had his hand
I
up.
have one last one. Thank you, Governor. Have you spoken with Attorney General Mays in the last hour or so after getting this decision, and what comes next?
We have not had that conversation yet. This is the first I'm talking about it. We all got the decision the same time you did.
Governor, is there any, so you just kind of mentioned the possibility of people going out of state for abortions. Do you plan on having any conversations with people like California Governor Gavin Newsom or any other leaders in neighboring states where the abortion access laws are less restrictive?
Absolutely. I'll do everything in my power as governor to ensure that Arizonans can get the care that they need.
We have time for maybe two more back there.
Barbara.
You know, the issue of the life of the mother, you know, we've heard from folks that this is particularly bad when that life, the mother's life is in danger. Since the 1864 ban takes that exception into account, why do we have such problems? when those issues-
Consideration for the life of the mother is not enough. Senator Burch and Morgan would not have been able to get the care that they needed with just the consideration for the life of the mother. These bans, whether it's 1864 or 2022, do not take complications of pregnancy into account at all, and it is not enough.
I think we have time for maybe one, maybe two more. Anybody else? All right, great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all.